Greece, we're experiencing this coming in and taking everything.
Yes.
But at the same time, in different parts of the world, and also here in Greece, a different direction is also emerging.
I hear that, and I also wonder about this moment in time when we have more pressure upon our earth and the natural resources and our human resources when there's so many of us. And I wonder if it creates more of a crisis in terms of how are we doing things? How are we living our lives? How are we living on the earth? And so when you talk about these movements, Lily, I think about the pressures that we're under, and it seems to me greater pressures maybe than we have in the past.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Can I connect the discussion we're having with how that affects our work?
Yes, please, Alexander.
Yeah, that in all this environment that Lily and Len are describing, there are three main areas that we are aiming towards. One of them is awareness, the other one is empowerment, and the third one is community building. Because we believe that if those three things don't happen, we're just going to invent another system which is going to have the same destructive dynamics of the previous one. So
I see.
Those are the three areas that we work on, and that could be our work in our private practice with people. It could be our trainings for professionals, the open town forums, or the monthly group processes, the work in schools or in organizations. Now, this whole idea about changing the paradigm shift has changed actually the way we work. Up to a few years ago, all three of us were private sector. We were not employed by the public sector. We were not a public mental health service or a public educational or a training service. We were self-employed private sector. And there was a public sector that could offer therapeutic assistance to people in need or training for many things. Right now, having those things having been dissolved because the social state is almost at a 0 point right now here in Greece.
I see.
To give you a very shocking, small example, someone attempted suicide 4 days ago, drinking a bottle of alcohol and swallowing a bottle of pills. They went to the hospital. Their stomach was pumped. They were taken out 2 days later without a psychiatrist talking to them. There was no psychiatrist to talk to them. So that's the situation that right now that the public health system is in. So being in that situation, we had, for example, to change our economic policy as a private sector, quote unquote. So our trainings, they may have a tuition price, but we call that an indicative price. We say this is an indicative price for this seminar. Each person will pay what they can afford to pay. Our private practices operate that way. We give people a lot of leeway to make their own decision about their financial situation and try to work out a way where they can actually afford private therapy in their financial state. So this is not just a theoretical discussion. We are also trying to find ways of what that means for us as professionals. How do we relate financially to the scene, and how does that affect the kind of work we do and how we do it?
I really appreciate that model that you're practicing in your quote-unquote private sector. I noticed, Alexandra, I'm still with those three words that you used that seem so to the point. You said community building, empowerment, and awareness. And I think a lot of people could see the benefits of community building and empowerment. But I wonder if you could say a little bit more about the aspect of awareness and how that comes into play in some of these large issues.
Well, one of the dangers in situations of crisis like this is the polarization that happens. And,
yes, I can imagine.
And it's very easy both for things to become very violent very quickly. Either that's emotional violence or physical violence, and it's very easy to become one-sided. There's an us and them dynamic that gets created all the time on all levels of society. And the awareness that we're trying to build is an awareness of how those are not just political positions or personal opinions, but that they're also dynamics that happen and that often get repeated amongst us without us realizing it. I think that once people gain a deeper awareness about their own mythic or by choice, I don't separate those two, position in this whole play that's happening, I think it helps them make more conscious choices about how they interact and how they relate to what's happening.
Also,
Now, mythic, can you say what that means here?
When I say mythic, I mean that in all this that's happening, for many people, at least that I work with, it rings a bell for them for some personal myth that is being played over and over again. It is not only a political and a social crisis, an economic crisis that's happening, it's also a mythic repetition of a sense of disempowerment. And
I see.
so working also on the personal myth that each person has or each group has sometimes helps to bring out a different sense of positioning ourselves in the situation.
For example, it's not the mythic, but something that comes to mind is like a lot of times here we speak about the fear that the government is creating in order to
Yes.
keep people down. And that
Yes.
is true. Every day you read something that scares you and you say, oh my God, what am I going to do? In our last group process though, as we were processing that and as we were processing the difficulties with the polarities and the violence that there is outside, we came to a place where people realized also how much the fear is an internal, it's something that they feel independently somehow from the fear that the government is creating, and how much the fear and also that stops you from interacting with people and being yourself and get into conversations is also a cultural thing here in Greece. So this is work that we are doing towards awareness, that you say, that if you start realizing how much you stop yourself by getting into interactions with people about the political situation or the everyday situation that is happening here in Greece, is not only in the outside government level, but also is a cultural thing, a cultural conditioning, and something that you can change it inside of you in order to create more interaction, and from that interaction will hopefully change in small things, in your house, with your friends, in your neighborhood.
or your fear to let go of the things you want to let go of and make the change you want to make. How difficult it is for you yourself to, even though you want something else, to let go of something that's been part of your identity or the way that you experience yourself and your life up to now, and go towards what you want. I think we were speaking about last time.
Last time we were speaking about the attachments and how much we attach in our identities and our realities, and how difficult it is to have this small depth that will allow you to go to something new or different.
Also, the importance of making space for the difference that we each have in this moment.